Hello hero, it's Lucy Lenormand. You guys have put me in a bit of a corner, right? After not 2 readings ago saying that I was going to try and cut down on love readings because the market is very oversaturated with that at the moment and it's not my primary mission here. I then went to sleep, had a dream where someone requested the exact type of reading that you're about to see. So, I mean, you can request things in the comments. I'd prefer you did that than send me dreams, but I've been told basically to do a quickie that is one of these. Now, what is one of these? We're going to use my DIY love deck, which I point out early because it contains 50% negative messages. This is not something you find on every channel, and certainly within love readings, there is a financial advantage in encouraging people within connections that may have a bit more complexity to them than is sometimes expressed in a general sense. What I mean by that is that I was in a connection that at the time sucked. And I was getting lots of love readings, and most of the available love decks were saying things like, I want to marry you, I dream about you every night. But the person's actions towards me were not expressive of those kinds of truths, even if we've sort of come back round to some very nice stuff, right? So I wanted to make a deck for my own channel that expressed that somebody would want to ghost you, or that they weren't interested, or that they don't want kids, or that their family don't like you, etc. That's not to say that the whole deck is negative, because for every dodgy statement, I've put in something lovely on the same subject. But it is to warn you beforehand that if you're up for this, you may not get what you're wanting to hear so much as what you're needing to hear. And this is one of the things I pride myself on as a reader, all right? So take that warning, please. And I guess this is your trigger warning that, like, only ask about a person in this reading if you really want to know. And I'm guessing it's like a no contact for many of you, but I'm going to broadly call it like a thoughts and feelings, just where they currently stand, basically. For each one of these, I'm going to pick 9 cards. Many of those will be from the love deck. Excuse me. Hiccups because I'm talking to you guys. I never get them at any other time. Yeah, so 9 card readings. We're going to get messages, but not all of the messages will be in agreement with each other. Not all of them will be exactly what your person would say. So again, a trigger warning, if at a glance your spread doesn't look very positive or it doesn't sound like them, please do hear out the rest of the reading, in which I will clarify all the statements, because as well as designed to be equal, this deck was designed to tell me what I need to know more than it tells you what they would say, if that makes any kind of sense. Short piles, Bob Ross playing cards, Labyrinth Dark Crystal megadeck for you Henson fans, I love you. And counterintuitively, but it asked, we've got the Red Hand Lenormand. I'm not going to read it like a normal Lenormand deck. I'm going to read it like a cartomancy deck, but it should do just as good a job of clarifying things. And to be honest, I love pixel occult stuff, so I'm kind of excited about introducing it in this reading to the channel. The last thing that I want to say, other than please like and subscribe if this does resonate or if you want to see more of this, is that the Bob Ross deck made me taste and smell bolognese when I was getting him out of his drawer. So if you've recently had an Italian with this person, or this person is Italian, or there is some kind of obscure connection to bolognese, firstly, let me know in the comments what the fuck is going on. And secondly, this might be your pile even if you prefer one of the others, right? Without further ado, let's get stuck in because I have a sore throat. Alright, so pile 1, you picked the Bob Ross playing cards. Let's get your messages before we clarify with some Bob. Ooh, it's a very tense energy here. It's very lonely. That may be you. Are you feeling crap? I'm sorry, love. This one wants to come out. Ah, that's interesting. I think this may be my pile. That's no statement on anyone I'm seeing. Just, just a feeling. Next one, please. What is Power One's person thinking, feeling? Wow. What is Power One's person? Whoop! Alright. And I'm going to take this because if you can see, as I was shuffling, this just flipped completely. But I think it's a bonus. Can we have an accompanying to Please Don't Leave Me, please? This one. Sorry about that, Power One. I had a bit of an interruption there, so you're seeing your final lineup as well as a little bit of your shuffle process, but I hope that you can, from what you see, trust that it was all shuffled live and everything like that. I think that the interruption there that cut out the video feed on my phone was indicative of me needing to say for confirmation that this is a person you've had a sudden interruption with. I dare say you might be in no or low contact because something has suddenly imposed itself upon your relationship in a way that neither of you expected, and that kind of makes things a little bit impossible at the moment. This may even be the reason that I was getting a lot of sadness, possible depression, discombobulation. I don't know how much of that came through in what was left of the shuffle on camera, but certainly as I was drawing things like this, and even before, I was picking up on a very lonely, very sort of desperate energy. Not desperate in like a romantic sense, but desperate for comfort, for relief, for a break in whatever is happening. For some of you, I think that there's a grief happening, and that it was so sudden and impactful that the connection kind of couldn't work around it, because who does expect these things, right? But if I'm saying that and it's not you, don't panic that it's going to be, because it's just a message for a minority. But either way, I feel I should confirm that you have not been feeling fantastic for a little while. And I think this person's attitude to you at the moment is mainly concerned with bringing you some comfort, some relief, despite that situation. So whatever it is that's brought you to lower or no contact, or has put enough of a rift in your communication that you're coming to a tarot reading to sort of see what's next, I think that's not as important to this person as making sure that you're okay right now. So I don't know how that hits, and I don't want to be offensive when I say it, because I know many people pride themselves on coping well in different circumstances, and this could be just your person's perception or indeed projection of you. But my first impression is that they think you're suffering right now, and they kind of want to help with that. But the way that they're helping with it is not necessarily by swooping in and being the hero. It's kind of wrestling with themselves as to what would be best, right? The first indicator of that is I want to help you heal and recover in comfort, with I worry that I'd be too high maintenance for you. So immediately there's a push-pull between a statement of, oh, please let me come and help, versus if I come and help, I'm going to be a problem. I'm going to be an impediment to the situation. My demands are going to be so high that this isn't going to be possible moving forward, etc., etc. This is a very general reading, so sort of alter as you see fit as to whether this person can perceive of themselves being a bit of a diva, versus that they just think that their presence in your life at the moment might be a little bit more than you can handle. And the card with that is a Five of Pentacles reversed. So there is definitely a sense of bringing relief, bringing sanctuary. There's a guilt from your person about whether or not they've left you kind of out in the middle of it when it's a bit shit, right? I think they are conscious on some level that they sort of abandoned you when you may have needed them most. And there is a very strong instinct within them to come towards you and sort of make amends for that and, confirmation, and indeed make up for it with their actions. But there's also a hesitancy at the same time that doing so would be too much of an interruption to the situation. So, whatever it is that's made you feel lonely or feel sad or feel just out of sorts for the minute, I think they perceive themselves as like making it worse in some way when they're around. And again, I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm saying this is your person's perception right now. Now, if we take the Bob Ross message in the upright, it's look around, look at what we have. Beauty is everywhere. You only have to look to see it. I think this person sees you as very beautiful for a start, in whatever sense, and whether you identify with that word. But I also think that I'm getting like an image of somebody on a bed who's crying because they've lost a relative or something like that. Again, it doesn't have to be your situation, it's just the image that's coming. And then their person is like coming into the room and standing in front of them, sort of dithering with their arms like, should I hug you? Should I go away? Oh God, are you all right? And it's blocking this person from seeing photographs of the person that has passed away, right? It's blocking them from looking at the beauty in their environment, in their situation, in the way of understanding what's just happened. Again, I want to say I don't think this is actually what's going on, but I think this is the kind of nightmarish vision of it that your person has, that if they come in trying to be kind, they will actually prevent you from your healing in some fashion. So I don't know how that resonates. If you're feeling comfortable, let me know down below, but we're going to move on to the next column. So we've got, it worries me that we're not alike, but I find the differences very attractive. And then we've got, I'm burning with jealousy. And we've got a 4 of Pentacles in the upright, which says, that's a crooked tree. We'll send him to Washington. Not entirely, bleh, words, communication problems, definitely. Oh, okay, I just got a bit of extra stuff. Right. I'm not entirely sure what Bob Ross meant by we'll send him to Washington. I think that's a quirky Bob Ross thing. But with that's a crooked tree and then talking about the differences between you, I think that this person is very attracted to you, but you might not be their usual type. And I think that there's potentially familial differences, differences in religion or tradition, some kind of difference in background or career or something like that, that is enough of a gap between you that they think you think it's an issue. Whether or not you've intentionally given them that impression or anything like that, whether or not you've even ever spoken about it, because this could be a crush that's relatively at a distance, right? But I think there's this impression from them of like, oh, we're too different, it would never work out. But I'm here to tell you that one of the things you look for in astrological synastry is difference that is different enough that it challenges each party to a greater extent than other connections would. There is a real truth to the statement sometimes of opposites attract, and indeed in an astrological sense I would add that squares even sometimes attract, areas of tension, of not exactly opposition, but enough difference to make things really challenging. So the things that your person is perceiving as like, oh God, what if they think that this wouldn't work, I think are actually part of the reason this would work as a relationship. And whether or not they come round to that truth, there is a sense of you as the crooked tree, the thing to be admired that is a bit different. For some of you, you're on the crooked path, and that is the difference. And hello, please let me know down below. But yeah, it's this distinction between you. They think you've decided it's too much, but actually I'm not sure that you have made that decision, and I certainly don't think that it does apply. Then with that being in combination with I am burning with jealousy, and also with the communication stuff that I was experiencing just then, What I'm getting is that this person sees you a lot on social media or in social circles for some of you, but mainly it's a social media thing, I think. They're seeing people around you who they perceive as being more similar to you. I just heard they're not, so so that might be your opinion on matters, and I really resonate with that myself. But they're seeing people with the accoutrements, if you like, of being similar to you. Similar lifestyles, similar jobs. They look more similar to you. They're perhaps from the same, I want to say like ethnic background or things like that. And they're seeing these people kind of flooding around you in social setting and getting very jealous at the level of connection that there is between you because they feel it's something because of your differences that they can't have. My feeling on this is, it is actually not because of the differences between you that they're not closer to you. It's because they fluctuate too much to actually become close, right? They're not taking the steps to get closer to you because they're anticipating a rejection before they begin. So they haven't stepped forward as much in a social way, which means you know them less, which probably means you confide in them a little bit less, or at least nowadays, if this is long term. And they're seeing that as like, oh, I'm just not cut out for this. But again, like the high maintenance thing, it's like, dude, it's not that. It's that you haven't got enough confidence to just be like, let's see where this goes. Let's try and get to know each other despite any differences. Let's just say that even if someone is high maintenance, it might work out anyway and give it a try, right? There is a frustration from your end of like, I think you do want them to comfort you, or you at least want them to act in a different way than they have been doing. And it's all in their head, right? It's so frustrating to read. So I do apologise if it's made your circumstance worse, you know, to deal with their root feeling of insufficiency is what I want to say. And then straight from that, we've got Please Don't Leave Me, which is a very sort of desperate card, isn't it? With send nudes, which carries the same vein of desperation in a very different sense, I would say. You don't say send nudes because you're necessarily desperate for the person to stay in your life. It's a very cool statement, not in terms of like street cred, but you know, it's very sort of, it's almost an aloof way to approach the same thing. If you can engage somebody sexually, you know they're at least engaged, right? Whereas if you're engaging with someone emotionally and saying, please don't leave me, please don't abandon me, which seems to be at the root of all of this as well, it's much more from a place of emotional neediness that might put someone off or might be perceived as too much or might make you feel vulnerable in the saying of it. Now with that, we've got a King of Swords reversed, and the statement would be, it's life, it's interesting, it's fun. They don't feel that this is fun right now, and I think the way that they perceive they can inject fun into your dynamic is to turn it sexual. But I actually think that from your perspective, your needs are more emotional at the moment, and you're disappointed that your person is not stepping forward in anything but a sexual sense. It's so... I've been here, man. I feel for you. Because on the one hand, they're desperate for you. They're desperate for your attention, for your validation, for your company even. They just seem to like you as a person and care about your welfare a great deal. But it's almost as if they're so scared of all of it that the only way that they can express is to kind of either send you pictures or demand that you send them pictures or continue in a very situationship kind of a way, or a very light-hearted sexual kind of way if this is an established connection, that is not... They're not reading the fucking room, right? They're not getting the tone of it, and I think it's fear-based, right? Particularly because we've got I could kiss you for hours. Now, without saying more than I'm comfortable with on a public channel, I was in a very similar dynamic to this for a while with somebody for whom kissing was a big no-no. And I think kissing was a no-no because they wanted to maintain the send nudes-ness of the connection and kind of deny that there was any jealousy involved, that there was any sort of wanting to be closer to me, or wanting to reconcile differences, or be more of a part of my life. It was their safe zone to be purely sexual and to have what I call hooker rules about something as intimate as making out for hours and hours. Your sexual connections may differ, you may still incorporate all that, but what I'm feeling from this, because of that example, is that the core of this is an emotional connection for them, but they're almost saying the kissing thing here because they can't say it, right? It may be that they don't allow you to kiss them, or it may be that you do kiss, but it never really goes much further than being a person you regularly make out with and or fuck about with, right? They desperately want to be there for you. They want to be closer to your friends. They want to talk about your differences in a way that explores each other's lives and gets to know you more. They are jealous when other people are around you. They're desperate for your company and scared that you'll leave. They're afraid of their impact on you in a way that, again, is looking out for you. And yet, what you're seeing from them is just an expression of sexuality and not much more. This card, more than any of the others, tells me that there is more to it than that. Now, if this statement was in the upright, it would say, whatever makes you happy, you put it in your world. You make this person very happy, but they feel that they cannot put you in their world, whether that's because of the differences or whether that's because they worry that they're a bad influence on you because they can't take this further, right? Sorry if my mic's making a noise as I'm gesticulating. With the King of Swords being in the reverse a little earlier on, all of this stuff is very ruminating. They're cycling on the same shit, but it's not actually coming from a place of logic. We differentiate between thoughts and feelings, particularly in a therapeutic setting, because it's useful to separate the emotion before the thought in order to prevent an emotional action, which we later think and assess was an illogical one, right? There is no such separation with this person at the moment, but because you're on their mind and they don't want to think of you as being on their heart, or they feel shy about expressing that you're on their heart, they're seeing all of this as logic. They're seeing it as strategy. They're seeing that if they would be bad for you, they should possibly step away. But the emotional pull, the instinctive pull from them, and indeed the truth of your situation, is that the thing you need most from them now, and the thing that they really could do with from you, is a key emotional connection where they come in, help you with how you've been doing. You help them with the sort of insecurity they've been feeling that they're not ready to admit to. And you kind of leave from that position together as a unit who are willing to see what is left with this, what is in there, and where you can take it together. I think if I was to offer you any advice from that sort of acknowledgement, it would be to let this person know that while you're feeling like this, you miss them being around, because I think they have doubts about that. To let them know in little ways that the differences between you are intriguing to you and not something that you see as too much of an obstacle. And also, if you're able, and it's a big if, and I also don't think we should pander to jealousy, but if you can, in small ways, perhaps let them know that there isn't a ton of competition that are going to be more suited to you because they're similar, right? And I think if this person is sufficiently reassured, there is a wealth of emotion they have for you, and indeed an ability to be practical about those emotions, that will mean that they do come in, confirmation again, even if it's a little bit sort of slow, it's a bit by bit, step by step, maybe even one step forward, two steps back, and I hate to say it, but that's how it was in the connection it reminds me of. And yeah, I think for all that they can offer you comfort, what you need to offer them in return is a bit of patience. And I hate it even as I'm saying it, because I know the frustration, but it's not that you're incompatible, it's that they want to tell themselves you are before they subject themselves to further rejection. And they do need you, right? They need you as much as you need them. But I think it's a case in this pile of being able to communicate that in small, unthreatening ways to each other. If you'd like something more in depth, shop link is down below. If you want to do multiple piles, I'm being told that's okay. And if not, please do like, subscribe, ding the dong, thank you kindly. Let me know in the comments how it hit, and take care. I wish you the best of luck with this, and I think with subtle and patient communication, it could be very lovely indeed. Pile 2, Henson gang, 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 gang. Nice to see you. It is I. I don't know why I said that. You know who I am. Anyway. Maybe that's something your person says. It is I, so-and-so. Let me know if so. Right. Let's get... Oh, all right. Steady. These guys are wanting to be together, so we'll... Well, which are you? Oh, I see. They're eager to communicate. I'll give them that. Next one, please. Thoughts, feelings for pile 2's person of interest. Let's have this green guy. Damn. Spicy. Are you together? No. Ah, that's significant, isn't it? Are you together? No. That could be related to you and your person, but I also get a vibe for some of you that there's a third party. And if you actually asked them, are you together? They would say no. So that's the first thing you needed to know. Not for everybody, but for some of you, that is what you came for in a sense. And I will go into the rest of it, but that's the first thing I need to say to you. This guy wants to come out first. Don't know what he is. Ace of Cups, lovely. Good start, right. And for the work is extremely intense right now, and I can't sleep because of you, because of this. Can we have a creature from Jim Henson's shop? Thank you. This one. Oh, Ludo. Lovely. This person, I think, started as a friend, or there is a big capacity for friendship within this connection. Because I'm hearing Ludo friend. Oh, God. Did you hear how bad that was? Usually my Ludo impressions are on point, guys, but I have such a sore throat today. I'm really sorry if I sound awful. And then we've got an Ace of Pentacles. Well, that's good as well, isn't it? Look at you cooking on gas. Wicked. Right. So just to go through the cards again, we've got an Ace of Cups, a Four of Cups, and an Ace of Pentacles, all in the upright, even though it was an option not to be. And then for your statements, we've got, are you just using me? I can't tell, with, I could touch you and get tangled up in you all day and it still wouldn't be enough. Then we've got, work is extremely intense right now, with, I can't sleep and it's because of you, because of this. And then we've got, I need you to protect me, please, with, I'm sorry for being so sad and stuck. Interesting. If pile 1 also resonated with you, there's a bit of an echo of some of the energies, although it's a different vibe in that this is a lot happier. And I don't necessarily mean in outcome or anything like that. I mean just that the mood of the reading in these cards is brighter than it was in pile 1. Pile 1's audience, pile 1, the viewer, was going through a rough patch. So if that's not you, it might not be for you, but I'm just being pulled to say from your person, it's a very similar energy. Similar sorts of contradictions and a similar outcome, I think. So firstly, they don't know if you're using them. I feel like this might not be a very cemented connection, just because I'm seeing that. And also because they're trying to communicate with you about their work life being intense, whether or not that's work. For some of you, I'm hearing it's looking for work. So this person might be out of a job, recently redundant, something like that, and it's just overwhelming. So they've not been in contact because of that stuff. But again, that won't hit for everyone because we're doing a general reading. I I sense that this connection, even though it's not like established, and even though they're sort of telling you in a peripheral way about their life and they're questioning your intentions, it has got to a point where it's sexual, or at least it's very heavy on like pretzeling together of an evening, making out, which again, pile one vibes. I do think this is a genuine direct statement. I could touch you and get tangled up in you all day and it still wouldn't be enough. I'm also hearing at last I see the light from Tangled, and the word tangled is popping out. So you may have a particular synchronistic connection with that film, as do I. Or there may be something about that song about Mandy Moore for some of you. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I am. Or indeed about somebody peripheral to this connection who has a Mother Gothel type intention for one or both of you. If you haven't seen Tangled, what I'm on about is a kind of fantastic Disney villain who is the best interpretation of a covert narcissist I've ever seen on film, quite frankly. But it doesn't mean that there's somebody narcissistic in this connection or in the periphery of it. What I'm getting instead, that there is somebody who is very keen for one or both of you to have like what they call a failure to launch. Like there's somebody who wants either you or your person to be reliant on them in some fashion. And to have this connection come together in a bigger way would mean a resistance to that, or a breaking free of that, or the kind of equivalent of the princess finally leaving the tower and exploring the world a little bit. Again, resonates on a personal level with some of pile one, so do check that out. But either way, they love being pretzeled with you. They love morphing into one human. You may have been the pile that got the station metaphor in, not the pile, but one of my love transmission readings where we talked about Bill and Ted for a little bit. But yeah, they're into you. I just think they don't know what your intentions are. And I think from their end, with an Ace of Cups, it's very romantic, actually. I'm not sure they've expressed that, but I think the root of it, they're feeling ways about stuff, right? And they may even say things like feeling ways about stuff because they may be quite emotionally avoidant in their communication, right? And I think I'm hearing that in that Futurama type way, because Futurama is very good at depicting a very certain kind of humour. It's not quite Simpsons humour. It's a little bit more acerbic and chaotic is what I want to say. So your person may be a Futurama fan, or they may be like just very wry in a way that you appreciate. But the euphemism of, and it may not even be from Futurama now I'm saying it, but the euphemistic way of saying I'm feeling ways about stuff might be the kind of statement that they would give to express themselves in that kind of dancing around the truth, slightly sparkly, dry delivery fashion. Work is extremely intense right now. Again, could be looking for work, could be work, but there's something that's occupying most of their day. I don't think it's that they don't think about you. I think they think about you a great deal, actually. But I think that they sort of police themselves with that, in a way. They sort of tell themselves that they're being naughty when they indulge in that stuff, right? Naughty being a very trivialising word. And again, it's quite an infantilising word, isn't it? So it may be that they've got the Mother Gothel on their end trying to infantilise them and make them stay their special boy, etc. And that could be an ex-partner. It doesn't have to be a parent, or it could be a friend even, or a work environment. You do you. But yeah, there's certainly this sense that they want to think about you. They do think about you, but they can't make it their priority. That's out of their control, and they're sort of chastising themselves when you come into their mind, which I think, sexually speaking, is a fuck of a lot. Right? Echoed by, I can't sleep and it's because of you, because of this. If this was in the last pile, I would say it's like a turmoil thing, and they're maybe having like dreams or nightmares about the lack of movement in this connection. But with it coming up here and with it being with what I just said, I think they think about you at night when they're feeling a certain way. And I think they may even get their hands involved with that, or indeed other tools if they are so inclined and have the right apparatus, if you follow. I can't really say more than that because this isn't an 18 plus reading, but I do think they're losing sleep in senses that would perhaps be quite appealing for you to think about, right? And it's specifically because of you. I don't think it's that they're just getting those late night feelings and you happen to be the person that's coming into their head because you're the thing for the moment. I think it's that they've met you now and that stuff is about you now. And they're very tangled up in it. Again, it's this, again, I don't want to get too 18 plus, but there's, with the tangled up and with that, there's like restrictions, knots, right? For some of you, or restraints, or being immobilized by a partner, etc. So that may hit. There may also be a thing, and again, don't want to get too kinky, but about one of you being asleep and the other one not being able to sleep and what happens from that point. But I'm going to leave it there for that. That should communicate sufficient interest, no? And then with the Four of Cups, this is like, I feel like they've tried to sort of offer you a bit of this. I feel like you may have had some you up texts, or maybe even a phone call or a visit, or some kind of late night shenanigans of them showing sexual interest in a way that wants to communicate romantic interest. And again, with pile one for this, damn, you guys are tangled up in each other, right? But with Ludo Friend, it's like, this always comes with an insistence at the end that you are friends though, aren't you? Maybe even you are just friends though, aren't you? Because there's like a, I don't know where you stand feeling coming from this. As in, they don't know where you stand with them. Again, pile one. And it's like they can do sexual because you're obviously attracted to each other, right? It's a big attraction here. And I feel like it's reciprocated because of this tangled up thing. They know that you think they're hot. They know that they can push it with you a little bit sexually, or that they can kind of be working most of the time and then send you a late night thing and you will respond. But I think the bit they can't communicate is that they then have to say we're just friends as a safety measure, because they don't want to just be fucking you. They want to take it somewhere, right? And maybe it's that they want to eat their cake and have it too. Maybe it's that you're not the only person they're being like this with for some of you. And again, you'll already know if that's the truth for you, so don't get triggered. But certainly, I think if you were to come to them and say, hey, you know how we're really good friends? What if we took it like a bit beyond that and just tried it out and we can always go back to being friends? I think this person would leap at the chance, quite frankly. I think the friends narrative is coming in because they're afraid of what could happen next, not because they don't want anything to happen. Then interestingly, I need you to protect me, please, with I'm sorry for being so sad and stuck. I mean, sad and stuck could sort of speak to how they're coming to this connection. You know, stuck being, again, immobilized, right? But that's a metaphorical thing as well. They're very occupied with their world other than you. They're very confused about where it is that you stand because they can't devote the amount of time to this that they would want to. So there is an apology for being in that stuckness, but sad is an interesting word because it's almost like they acknowledge that in not being able to come forward to you, they feel sad and it might make you sad. So again, there is a suspicion from their end that there's more to it from you as well, that you would also want to be more than friends. But it's like before they confirm or deny, they want to give you an apology through this reading for the way that they've acted thus far. I need you to protect me, please. Really, I almost want to get another one with this, but it's almost like a feeling of save me from myself. And with what I said about maybe you're not their only option, that makes me think of something in particular. So let's just, this is a pink one, we'll take that, and we'll take this. Right, okay. See, I was wondering whether there was like a third party thing in that they might be overly fond of sex, shall we say. Yeah, and I pulled a fuck around a lot, but I'm willing to change. So that might be the case for some of you. But I think unless you know that they're a fuck boy, fuck girl, fuck whatever, this is more about the fact that they find you intensely interesting and they know that you're worth overcoming their fears for, but they kind of feel incapable in a way of coming forward properly. And I'm not sure whether that's because of their circumstances being so intense. Maybe it's that the third party for many of you is more work than it is anyone in particular or any familial dynamic. But it's like they want you, but they're like asking you to convince them that this is worth overcoming their bullshit for. And this is where I step in and say, although a lot of this resonates for me with stuff I've experienced, I want to warn you, as your esoteric woo auntie, don't give too much time to somebody who wants you to sort them out so that they can give you what you deserve. The Ace of Pentacles is a really interesting one for this to end on because it's an offering. It's a proposal or a do you want to go out, or a kind of here I bought you this thing, or let's spend time together this weekend. You know, whatever kind of offering it is, it's a coming forward with something concrete. And with it being the Uru, I think that this is seen by them to be a very positive measure. We're on the side of good instead of this sort of skeksis like, oh, sexual tangles, sort of bit dodgy energy, are you using me, doubt, 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 right? We've gone from the dark to the light, but there's an interesting element of community here. Community says to me, reliance. I think your person is relying on you to sort this out for them. And I think that when they say they're sorry for being sad and stuck, it's that kind of crappy little apology where you can say you're sorry for something without really intending change. You can say you're sorry because you know you can apologise to somebody and that will mean that you have more immediate access to them and that they have ceased to be upset with you and that therefore your dynamic improves. But that doesn't mean that the core work is being done. A proper apology does include acknowledgement, but it also includes a plan for change, or at least a promise to change. And my hesitation with this pile, which wasn't there in pile one, is that if you're seeing one or both, like from this point, I think this person wants you to fix what a dick they're being. And it's always up to you whether you do. And I almost feel like I can't instruct you to not put up with this shit because I have been around at least one connection for the better part of a decade waiting for someone to get the shit together and just step up a little bit, right? But sort of almost in order to prevent you from being in a similar situation where it's wonderful, then it's not, then it's wonderful, then it's not. And they seem sorry, and they seem like they have really good intentions, and they are unsure of themselves, and they are very lovely to you, and they are a good friend. It's like, I need you to ask yourself whether that's going to be enough if it's always a push-pull. If it's always going to be that they're like, oh, gee, I'm sorry, I'm crap. And then you're like, yeah, what do you intend to do about that? And they don't have an answer. They're like, oh, I was hoping you had a suggestion, right? Or I was hoping you were just willing to put up with it until my life circumstances that I'm not changing change on me, right? This person does want to overcome their fears and step towards you. I'm not sure that they have enough determination within themselves as a person, enough chutzpah, enough this is even echoed in this card, which, yeah, it may not be for all of you that this person's fucking around. And please don't take it for you if it doesn't feel like it resonates. But I think the reason this had to turn up was because, again, it's one of those statements of, I'm being an absolute dickhead, but I'm willing to change. Willingness is not the same as action. Longing and sort of acquiescence is not the same as genuine transformation or a step in the right direction. And if after this reading your person does take a step in the right direction, fantastic. I would love to be wrong about this. But I just feel cautious for you, because up until this point in the reading, it looked really like this person wanted you and wanted to change and get over themselves in order to offer you something bigger. But from this bit, it feels like I'm hearing I want doesn't get, right? It's like you need to put the effort in, man or woman. And now I'm hearing my wonderful D&T teacher, Mr. Sharp, who probably isn't watching, but I feel I should name him anyway, just because let's all pray for him. He was fantastic. But he used to say, Catholic school, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I do like that saying, even if I'm not necessarily of an entirely Christian ilk. This person could promise you up the creek. And I just want you to be cognizant of what it is that you require and the steps that you would like them to take, or that you would see as sufficient for them to take for this to move to the next stage, whatever that stage is in your connection. And I think having a concrete idea of my baseline for how another person behaves with me is this, is going to help both of you massively. Because if you have that standard for you, you know that if that person can't meet your basic standard, they're not like your person, they're not right for you. And from the flip side, if you have a standard that can be communicated to them, even in a sort of non-verbal way or through a third party or whatever, they have something that they can either work to, excuse me, hiccups again, or tell you that they're not prepared to work to, right? So you're giving them, even just saying like, I want this to be a connection and I'm giving it this amount of time. And if they haven't stepped towards me in that amount of time with all of my sort of cooperation, then I'm calling it a day on this. And even sending that message out to the universe and never sort of telling them gives the energy of this connection a deadline. And it gives them something, even on a subconscious level, where the pressure is understood and they can choose to step up or not to step up. Now, I'm not about ultimatums. I'm not about putting pressure on somebody in a verbal way. I don't think that that's what we're talking about. But what I am saying is that if this person disappoints you because of their lack of ability to step forward despite all these feelings, it might be worth giving yourself a bit of a timeline of like, if it doesn't happen by this date, or if I don't hear from them in this particular way, I'm going to consider myself fully single. Because what you don't want to do is be in a holding pattern without the holding, as Xander would say, and be sort of, I almost want to say in a chaser dynamic with somebody who doesn't even realise they're being chased, right? Because you could be waiting forever. Now, I don't want that to mean that this reading ends on a bum note. I do think there is potential here. There's certainly a great deal of feeling. There's a great deal of affection, and there's a really solid friendship, actually, no matter how well you know each other. But for this offering to be enough for you, I think there needs to be more than just one gesture. And I think you need to be aware of when you're doing the emotional labour for this person and when it's actually time for them to step up. So I hope that they do step up. I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that there's a bit of communication in some way, be it verbal or non-verbal, where you guys come to understand that actually you need to be on an equilibrium of effort. And I wish you all the best with it, and I really hope this person does communicate what are indeed very lovely feelings towards you, and highly sexual feelings, right? If you wanted to just treat this as like, well, they may never step up, but I can have a lot of fun with this, absolutely do. Let me live vicariously through you. All right. If you want anything more in-depth, more specific, there's a link to my shop down below, or you can check out any of the playlists on my channel, including an A to Z Lucky Dip, which has like 6 readings per video, in terms of channeled versus tarot, of like stuff you may need to know on anything. That means it includes love readings. There is also another love reading playlist, but my feeling on this, honestly, is like, wait and see how they behave. Take care, pal 2. Pile 3, you chose the Red Hand Lenormand. This should be an interesting one because I've never read Lenormand on the channel. And as I said in the intro, I'm not reading it traditionally, but we will see what comes up. I think I'm just going to go with whatever symbolically comes across in the most pertinent way. This guy wants to be a part of this. Can we have the thoughts, feelings, intentions, general dynamic of pile 3 at the moment, please? Oh, wow. Okay. Humdinger. What is it with these jabroni readings? I don't know whether you've watched the other piles. You might have. If you have, thank you kindly. You're wonderful. But like both readings so far have been about people who feel they can't step forward and are sort of putting it on another person or a substance or a circumstance for them to be able to say how they actually fucking feel. And it really annoys me, guys. It really does. Sorry, I'm going to try not to judge your person because they may be wonderful. It's just that this is like a theme through all of this. And I thought, because of the scope of this DIY deck, I thought these 3 readings would be really different from each other. But clearly there's a pattern, right? There's something in the water. You want to come out, don't you? Yeah, definitely something in the water. This is very similar to the 2 previous piles. So if you felt drawn to one or both of them, go back and have a look. This one wants to be the last one. Do we want another one like we did before? Yeah, we do. Right. And it's this green one, is it? Okay. Oh my... Honestly, gang, it's such a similar story. And that's not for the lack of scope in this deck. This deck mentions like babies, marriage, travel, ghosting, all kinds of stuff, and yet we're getting the same bloody result. Okay, firstly, these are scattered everywhere. This person is feeling extremely scattered at the moment. Let me just pick up all these cards. We've got a bear in reverse, which would be the equivalent of a 10 of wands in reverse. So there is a releasing a burden, but it's like, oh, okay, I'll get to that. Right, I'm not cut out for the intensity of this with the Knight of Wands and the Whip. You may resonate strongly with pile 2. There was some rope stuff there, which I didn't get too far into because it's not an 18 plus reading, but you know, it's there. And then for this one, we have the Key in reverse, which would be an 8 of Pentacles in reverse. That's actually very straightforward, thank you. You want another one, dear? Top one? No? This one, okay. So for that, we've got a Book reverse, which is a 10 of Pentacles reverse. Okay. All right. Sorry, I don't mean to make that noise. This isn't going to be like an awful reading or something. I'm just... Honestly, my dudes, I do love readings from my shop as well, and the same pattern comes up so much with me. I despair for culture at the moment, but that's just me sharing in your possible frustration. That's not a judgment on your person or indeed on people in general. My silence protects us both. This person feels they cannot come forward with how they're feeling, what they're doing. For some of you, this is a third party and this person is in a very established connection or indeed a marriage. Take it as it resonates. If you don't know that that's the case, then it's not going to be a newsbreaker thing for you. It's just that I'm speaking to a wide variety of people. And then we've got maybe if I'm drunk or high, I can tell you how I feel. Now, we split down the middle at this point, because for some of you, this person wants to tell you they have feelings for you. And in that case, again, pile 1, pile 2 may resonate. But for those who resonate with this silence protecting you as being connected to a third party in some fashion, I'm getting that they may want to get drunk or high and tell you how they feel, even if they don't get drunk or high. This is just like a metaphor. But they may want to become vulnerable with you in order to say that actually what they have chosen is the connection they're already in. I know that this isn't present in these cards, but it's what I'm hearing from my guides. With the bear in reverse, for some reason I'm hearing cocaine bear, so it's like echoing this like substance thing here, if I'm drunk or high. Although I don't think coke is particularly a truth serum, what I do think is that you guys may have met in a party atmosphere, or you may know that they're quite partial to the odd substance in some cases. But either way, with cocaine bear being the thing, I'm getting this thing of aggression. Bear can be very motherly, it can be very nurturing, caring, sacred, but with this particular image in this deck, and with it being in reverse, it's like a strength card reverse energy. It's like this person's temptations and animalistic expressions of mood are almost taking over this connection. And I think they want to lean into that in a way and be like, if I just feel extreme enough, I can confess what's actually going on. But I don't think that that extremity is advisable at all. I even think with it being a 10 of Wands reversed, that it would just provide more burden for them, that it would just be another thing that they had to manage in the aftermath. It's possible that this person has addiction issues. Again, I'm not breaking the news, but that may resonate for some of you. And if that's the case, it's like they think that by sort of going into temptation every now and then, they can become closer to an honest conversation with you. Whether that's because they feel intimidated or whether it's because they have bad news to break, sort of alter as you see fit. But you know, the opposite of what they believe to be true is true in that sense, where if they did get drunk so that they can give you a drunken dial and tell you they're into you, or indeed if they did get drunk or high or whatever so that they could express to you in a very extreme way that they have made their choice and that this cannot continue, they would be managing the after effects of that outburst for a long time for some reason. And I think it's a double meaning with my silence protects us both, because it's almost like, yeah, if you don't do this and if you just shut up about it, there won't be as much of a cataclysm. But for those of you where third party applies, staying silent on your feelings when you've got two people potentially waiting on a decision, or one person being silently betrayed, it's not ideal, is it? You know, I think this pile is much more extreme than the others, and I think there's this sense of urgency to whatever's going on that they think they can remedy with coming to it with equal passion. They may be a fire sign or fire dominant. And I think actually what this situation needs is a more calm, mediating influence, which may even be something they see in you. Let me just check my camera. Excellent, we haven't drifted. I'm not cut out for the intensity of this. We're not intellectually compatible, even if there are other good things going on. For some, it's a very sexual connection. For some, it may have a BDSM link because of this being the whip. But there is, in either case, like even if it hasn't gotten sexual, there is an intensity to the dynamic of the sparring between you, which is echoed by the whip thing, but it's also like they want to think they're not intellectually compatible with you. I doubt that. I think what's actually happening is that they've met somebody who can begin with a kind of banter energy and end up actually insulting them accidentally. Not because you intend to, but because you are willing to take that energy to the place where it's funniest. And I think they're a bit hurt. I think that this may have been a one-time conversation, or it may be something you regularly do, where you kind of play off each other and there's a bit of an improv energy of the yes and. But it's almost as if they think you're taking it too far. And I actually don't feel much aggression from you or any resentment about whatever's going on. I feel instead that they are quite raw and that they would like to think they're cleverer than you because it soothes them about the fact that you can take the piss out of them a little bit and you're not bothered by that, and it's in a well-meaning way. Whereas I think when they do that back the other way, they may get so arsey about it that they're kind of insulting. And that again is like a whip dynamic, and it's a Knight of Wands risk as well. Whenever we're not talking about the Knight of Wands being a bit of a fuckboy, we're definitely talking about an energy that can be impulsive, in the spirit of fun or in the spirit of sexual tension. And when you combine those things, I get somebody that can be a bit like harsh, but can't take it as well as they give it. So that may be verbal, and for some of you it may indeed be physical and in a sexual context, but I'm not going to go into that without making this 18 plus, right? So I think that's what they mean by intensity. I don't think it's that you're needy or too much or asking for more than they could reasonably give if they had the inclination. I think instead it's that like there's some kind of back and forth here that makes me think of like a square aspect in astrology where it's just a bit much, like it goes a bit far. And I think in a way it's because on both sides there is frustration that certain things aren't being communicated. You may be a bit annoyed with them for not ever just coming out and saying it. They're a bit annoyed with you for not making that process easier and doing the work for them. Again, Supal 2. So it's like very sexy, but it's also a bit, I wanted to say rival, but the thing that came into my head from Spirit was it's a bit villainous. Like maybe you're both a bit like edgelord energy or just edgy, or you kind of identify with villains more than heroes and you're okay with being a bit rude to each other in the spirit of fun. But it's like it's going up beyond fun now because there's too much underlying it. There's too much, not water under the bridge, but there's like a dark stream under the communications of what you actually both think to each other. And as I said that, my eyes widened in an uncharacteristic way. So I think this person might be quite animated, or you might, you know, big gestural stuff, big expressions going on. There's like a Jack Nicholson feeling to some of this. And it's like everything is bigger because the core stuff hasn't really been addressed. Our sexual compatibility is mind-blowing with it's so exciting to get up in the morning knowing I could run into you. I think both of these are legit. I think this person enjoys seeing you a great deal, maybe even a lot more than they would like if they are in something else, but again, they're not for everyone. And I think you are sexually compatible. I think even if you haven't fucked, this charge that we were on about here is more than enough to tell you that it would be fantastic, right? I think there's just something in the energy. If you guys are like in a setting around other people or your co-workers or something like that, this is a tension other people have definitely noticed. And that may even be part of like why they feel conflicted as to what to say, because it's almost like circumstances are pushing them into being more expressive than they're willing to be when they're in this vacillation between extremes. With the key in reverse is interesting because again I'm getting a thing of like their home life and their It's like the sex is great, they love seeing you, but they're locking the door to their home behind them in order to leave to see you. So you're not established in their environment. You're not part of their world, is what I want to say. And again, that may pertain to a marriage or another connection, but for those of you where there's no third party, this is expressing that, like, they keep you in a specific box and they do their other things around that, but never the twain shall meet. And I think from your end, that could actually be quite hurtful. I don't think it's intended that way. I'm not even sure whether this person knows that they're being hurtful when they do that. But it's almost like you have your own little place. I want to say your own little dungeon with them. And then their kind of other life carries on around that. You don't get to know too much about it. They don't ask too much about you. Or if you do know about each other, it's like in a sort of surface or peripheral or environment-friendly way, where it's like more small talk. And then they lock up their sort of deeper stuff under lock and key. Very Bluebeard, for those who know that story and identify with that energy, right? Always check if someone's locking the door behind them before they meet you, whether there are indeed skeletons in that closet. But it's kind of like, it's not that they're ungrateful for their connection with you, because they do find you incredibly appealing. There is a huge temptation and draw towards you. And I don't think it's even just on a sexual level. I think there's lots of things going on here. It's very complex. I dare say your astrological synastry would be very fated, very sort of key for each other, but full of challenges. But I think even though they're not ungrateful, the way that they separate you from other things comes across to you as ungratefulness. And it's almost like, again, the question I asked Pile 2 is like, is this enough for you as it's currently happening, right? Is this working for you? Because I'm not sure that this person is self-aware enough to change right now. And if there are addiction issues or issues of a third party, those things are going to keep them in this back and forth wild behaviour energy a lot longer. With I'm consumed with fear right now and the book in reverse, this is again a message for a minority, but I have to say it because it's coming. Some of you may be magical practitioners, tarot readers, witches, just people who are generally spiritual, and this person or their immediate environmental people are bothered by that. So they are fearful either about what it is that you do or about how other people around them would react to it and how that might integrate into their life. If you picked, for example, Pile 2 and Pile 3, where 2 talked about those differences between you and stuff, and then you're getting this, something that may hit for you is that their family, friends, etc. wouldn't want them to be involved with a witch, and that's where that third energy is coming in. So it's not necessarily I'm consumed with my own fear, or fear on my own behalf, should I say. It's more that, like, there's something about you that isn't agreed upon by everybody in the picture, in their wider world, in the bit that they lock behind them when they come to you. This may even be like a sneaky link type situation where they're closed off from showing you more of who they are because your presence might pose a direct threat to their reputation. And by that, I don't mean that you're not of a good reputation yourself. I just mean that the circles that they run in are not like yours, and they're scared for what that will do. I think maybe, like, where we see a dynamic with a lot of tension like this, quite often it's put into our lives to challenge us and make us grow. And there may even be an element of this person would actually rather be in the kinds of environments that included people like you, or they would rather be exploring these things about you they find to be different. And you're here to sort of show them that tension and show them that like they've got fears and shame around their own reputation and what they can say in front of whom, you know, or in front of who, sorry. But there's something there with that about like feeling burdened by what it might mean if they open the book, right? There could even be like a diary thing here, where they either don't want to know what your private thoughts are, or they don't want somebody else around you guys to detect their private thoughts, like they're reading a diary. I'm seeing people reading and misinterpreting the diary of Laura Palmer right now, so you could be a Twin Peaks fan. There are readings with that deck on this channel, by the way. But it's this thing of like, not being spied upon, but just being sort of exposed by people watching carefully. And there's something about this that's forbidden. And I think that's like, it's both what makes it super exciting for both of you in a sexual sense, and what makes it almost impossible for them to follow up in any coherent way, or at least they see it that way. With a Ten of Pentacles as well, there's talk of establishment, talk of legacy, maybe even talk of family. So either this person's career or their long-term view about the person that they will grow to become, or something to do with their family legacy, is in direct conflict with coming forward to you with how they actually feel about anything. So again, I ask you, is this enough? I think if you take this connection and the way that they're feeling for what it is, which is something which has a great deal of intellectual and sort of witty spark to it, which sometimes involves partying together, which definitely involves lots of different kinds of heightened emotional states, which might involve a lot of sex or possibly some kink for some of you, and which is something you can have on the side whilst maintaining the rest of your life very easily, because they're also up for compartmentalizing, then absolutely continue to indulge in this person. Continue to have that sneaky link or that situationship, or even, because we don't judge on this channel, that affair, right? But I think probably you've come to me today because there's more to it than that, or you want more to it than that. And if that is you, and there are feelings involved at your end, or there is a hope for something longer term, or a hope to get behind this locked door and sort of get into the cracks of your person and understand them a little bit better, I'm afraid I don't see that happening, at least not in the near future. And I'm not sure that this connection is going to be sufficient to satisfy you. And maybe it's time to look for something that does, or at least to step back from this enough that they see what it's worth, and they don't have to be drunk, high, or in an altered state of anger, happiness, whatever it is, in order to be able to tell you where they fucking stand. I hope that was useful to you. If you want anything more in depth, my services are available below, or you can check out the rest of the channel. We do have a playlist of love readings and one of like pick a pile A to Z lucky dip type things, which often are for love or sex or possible third party things, you know. It's just on whatever you need to hear at that time, and it includes I said that, didn't I, that it includes channel sections as well. Sorry guys, I'm very tired. You indeed may be very tired. This seems quite tiring. Please make sure you have a rest and a glass of water, all right? I love you loads. I hope that this goes in whichever direction is best for you, and that you feel a little bit better knowing that part of the purpose of it was for you to kind of wake this person up to the level of communication responsibility and indeed self-responsibility to their own interests that needs to happen. But if it's not for you and you need to step away, I feel there could be something really good on the horizon, and please do check out the rest of the channel for what that might be. If you need to kind of view a reading to induce hope within yourself so that you can move forward. Yeah? Take care. Hopefully see you in the next one. Please like, subscribe, share, etc. if it hit. And yeah, goodbye.